local research and design lab with a $12 million project portfolio and over 10,000 hours in research and design work, is taking the Zimbabwean housing market by storm. I'm here today with Leo, who is the founder of Power Africa Lab. And Leo, thank you for being with us. Could you tell us a bit more about what the Power Africa Lab is?
I always say to people, Power Africa Lab is like a chemistry lab. We are in a place of experiment, but we're doing it for cities. This is a research and design lab where all the exciting solutions are being made.
So, Leo, what do you think is the most pressing challenge the Zimbabwean housing market is facing today?
I always put it as three major problems. So these problems have to do with inclusivity. So our housing is not inclusive for young people. It's not inclusive for people with disability. It's not inclusive, for people who would ordinarily want to afford the housing in terms of pricing. So when it comes to inclusivity, we looked at a housing for persons with disabilities. So one of the projects we did was in partnership with the Infrastructure Development Bank of Zimbabwe. Then the second part, we're looking at, climate resilient housing. Case of Chipinge, the cyclone Idai, infrastructure was destroyed, housing was destroyed. Much of it has to do with the way people build. So you'd find that there is a case in designing houses for, disaster-prone areas, climate-resilient housing. And one thing that we also then look at is affordability. Is the housing market affordable? So in Zimbabwe, we're experimenting with 3D printing and prefabricated housing, where we can make a case for a $15,000 house, a $20,000 house, well built with all the interiors designed.
What are you most excited about for your company?
We are living in the future. That's the exciting part about Power Africa. We get to see how a 3D printer works. We get to see how prefabricated housing works. A house can be set up in 10 hours and it's complete. And not just housing, other projects that we do, whether it's trying to develop a 33-hectare decentralized community, you get to be there to shape the future.
So we're here in one of the Maker Club labs, and Simba, this is amazing. You said earlier that you work with schools. Could you tell me a bit more about how that experience has been?
It's been a bit of a challenge because of what's happened, as you know, with the pandemic that's happening. We've had a lot of kids out of school, and as a result, the kids were behind in their studies. So really getting time for the kids in schools has been a bit of a challenge. Schools are really busy trying to get their kids back up to speed. One of the other challenges we face as well is this is something new, and trying to fit that into an existing system we found that a bit of a challenge.
I'd like to give it a shot.
Yes.
And see, so I just push down on this.
You push down on that.
Oh, wow.
And you find that it actually gets it to move. So you can push down and you can pull.
Okay.
So you notice, so that's controlling the claw.
Yes.
And I'm controlling the up and down motion. Oh. We get the young kids to actually build this right from scratch.
Wow.
We get to give them all the materials as just pieces of wood. Now, they're taught to use rulers and pencils at school. Mm-hmm. And a lot of young people just think, oh, these are just rulers and pencils. Yet, rulers and pencils are what engineers use. Right. They use that for dimensions and measurements. So we would typically give them the wood. We would present them either with a working sample or some blueprints. They get to measure the pieces of wood. We teach them to use basic tools like saws. They get to cut the pieces themselves. We teach them how to use drills in a safe environment. And they get to drill all the holes and actually put it together.
Hey guys, welcome back to Swipe. I'm with Ed and Valentine today again. So Apple has discontinued one of the most iconic, second only to the iPhone in terms of sales and popularity. They've discontinued the iPod. And I can say it's an emotional time for me, even though I only ever owned one, but I can say it's something that, I'm sad to see go away, but at the same time, I can understand that it was necessary. Yeah, let's talk about it. Why did they discontinue the iPod?
Why continue it?
Yeah.
iTunes, Spotify, Deezer. There's no point in continuing something that is not streaming.
Then also, I think it's an evolution of tech as well, because if you notice, the iPod was pretty popular back in the day because music files were large. So keeping them in your smartphone that you use for other stuff was a bit of a problem.